Mon invité aujourd'hui au podcast minier, James Maxwell de First Mining Gold. Et puis pour l'audience, ben, ça va être un podcast en anglais. Fait que là, tous les professeurs de langue seconde qui veulent vraiment m'aider en anglais, vous n'avez qu'à écouter ce podcast-là, puis vous envoyez-moi vos soumissions. So James, welcome.
Oui, bonjour, merci pour l'opportunité avec la conversation demain.
Yes, and James, you have a radiophonic, is that a word? Radiophonic?
We can make it a word, but yeah, I certainly accepting of, I think that's appropriate. Just, a radio-friendly voice maybe.
I think the audience will, that's good because you compensate for my strong English, French accent, and then you have this nice voice. So I think it's all going to be a great episode for our audience.
Good. Well, I look forward to hearing it too, just as much as I do starting it today.
So James, I went on your LinkedIn profile so I would learn more about you. Then I saw there was like 11 experiences in the mining industry and other experiences. So maybe I think you're the best one to tell the where you've been, what you've been doing, where you're from.
Yeah, so I'm very happy to expand upon who I am. So I'm a geoscientist by training. I grew up in a family of geoscientists, and this industry in mining does have an affection for sort of a history and a lore of families that have worked in the business. And I'm happy to be a part of that. I'm also happy, though, to embrace new people to the business. And it's something that I've had a great opportunity and fortunate experience to do that across Canada mostly. Have done some limited international experiences, but largely I've been focused on gold exploration in the northern parts of Canada. So, and really from coast to coast. So I've done a lot of work in the high Arctic and Nunavut. I've done a lot of work in what are some of the key gold or mining camps in Canada, which includes Red Lake, it includes Timmins, it includes, Val-d'Or. And, just very fortunate to have those experiences and share them with, people that I've worked with over a long period of time, as well as the new people that are entering the business, which I think is also an important part of any sector, especially in mining today.
And talk to me about your role. You're Vice President, Exploration and Project Operations at First Mining Gold.
Yeah, so first most, it's a technical role at first, and I really see that geoscience part of the role in driving the exploration path, the geology, which a lot of people, I was taught once by somebody, it's kind of like the meal of the mining the mining sector. So it's kind of the foundation. Everything else kind of stems off of that. Like if you've got a bad meal, it doesn't process right, it doesn't digest right. So you really have to, make sure things are done well up front. And it starts with, really having the right approach and the right people. And I've been fortunate to be on good projects where we've had good funding, we've had good teams. And certainly at First Mining, I've been here now for 3 years at First Mining. I started in 2021. So I'm just coming up on my 3-year anniversary here at First Mining, and it's been exceptional. Over that team, I've integrated well with the management team. We've built out a full geoscience team and exploration department that, has about probably a dozen individuals in it today, working across 2 project platforms. Our focus is 2 flagship projects, one in Ontario and one in Quebec that we're here to speak to today. But yeah, it's a great opportunity to work with the teams and be here in Quebec for the Duparquet project owned by First Mining.
And then I was looking at the Duparquet project, and I'm like, I know this word. That's like in Abitibi, probably near Rouen. And then I went on your website, and it says it's located on Destor Porcupine Fault Zone. I've never heard of that.
Yeah, and it's an important geoscience attribute or characteristic. So it really is a lineament, if you will. It's a deformation zone that runs largely from about the Timmins area, and it runs sort of east-west across through towards Duparquet, where our project is located. And there's a lot of gold endowment, we say, or a lot of gold projects, historically mined, currently mining, in and around that area. So we're very fortunate. It's kind of like real estate a little bit. It's like location. Yeah. And the Destor Porcupine is a bit like Main Street. It's kind of, you want to be visible. You want to have the best property. And, we really feel when we moved into the Abitibi, especially in Quebec, that was an important attribute in the project. And so we've done a lot of work to consolidate an initial exploration position around a couple of historic mines, that are located in Duparquet that have a great history. I think the first mining started in Duparquet in 1933. And I think the mine was active until about 1956. And we're really hopeful that maybe by the 100th year anniversary, which would be 2033, that we could be active again. So hopefully maybe it's sooner, but our real goal is to really do a proper job in servicing, the advancement of a project in the gold space in Duparquet, Quebec.
And what have been your main challenges since this project started?
I think for us, the main challenge is just, growing an awareness around a new project. And I think that affects all aspects. It's a lot of the just social licensing of the project. It's a lot of growing our own independent Quebec team. Yeah. But we've been very fortunate. We've added a lot of local work teams to Duparquet's project face, including our site supervisor, who's from the community. We've got a number of other individuals from that area surrounding Duparquet and some of the townships around Duparquet. And it's really helped us, create an awareness of what's important to the community by having local people working at the project. And so it's helped communication, but it's taken time. So just coming into Quebec from, a Vancouver base, largely focused previously on Ontario projects, coming to Quebec, it's been a bit of a challenge in growing the team or attracting the right people. But, we've after 2 years now, we've had a lot of success in it, and we feel really good about the core we have. And that's kind of how you can grow. Once you have that core established, everything seems a little bit easier. And so we look forward to that, really looking forward to the work we've put in to get to where we are, to sort of grow from that nucleus now forward.
Do you see a difference? Because you've been pretty active in the West, but here a project in Quebec versus yes, Ontario, but BC. And do you see differences?
Yeah, definitely differences. I think, Quebec, just given the gold mining history and mining in general in Quebec and resource development, certainly the Abitibi I'll speak to. Quebec has been a very breath of fresh air from not just the exploration space, but just, the energy behind potential for development and then the workforce surrounding producing mining centers. It's all very positive. It's all very open air. We have seen a tremendous amount of people supportive of our project, wanting to engage, good service partners available here in the province of Quebec. We haven't had to look outside the box to find help or solutions or innovation. It all seems like Quebec really has a really positive supporting culture and level of services that are cutting edge. I mean, we're getting some of the best services and at a cost base that probably maybe rivals anything else in Canada. I think as you go west, certainly the services are available. There's a lot of good service partners, but the costs, we've seen higher costs around the country. But at the same time, when you're at a center of gravity for mining space, mining services, you would expect that the costs it's very competitive. And we appreciate that.
I can't wait for you to experience communication expert.
Yeah, well,
in your project.
That's good. I think it's something that is becoming more and more tangible and important. So the opportunity to be on a podcast today, I think it really shows how communication's changed. And there's people that obviously have an expertise in that. And I think it's one thing that the mining space needs to, continue to embrace and always be looking for is how can we better spread our message, especially the positive stories. I find the negative stories have a really strong way of getting out and getting attention, but the positive wins, the stories that really, help everybody support a productive environment and economy, those are the ones that we really want to make sure are resonating. And it's not that we want to hide the bad stories. It's just you want a balanced approach. And I think there's communication tools and people that are experts in that, and certainly we need them.
And talking about the good stories, what are your milestones right now at the company?
Yeah, so our milestones are to be a producing gold company. And again, we've got two of what we believe are, the largest advancing gold projects in Canada at differing stages. But for the most part, it really is about becoming an ultimate gold producer. And we feel like, the success in that for ourselves has an ability to transform areas that, we'll see, significant economic benefit as well. And that's, we're in areas that probably could use an injection of, economic benefit and development and, at the right pace, though. That's the other thing is, it's not about just all of a sudden flipping a switch and making things, change overnight. It takes time. So there's dialogue to be had. And I think that's the important part is to have it early, like talk about how does the local community? How does the local population, the municipalities, even the local government, how do they want to play a role? What benefits do they want to see? And it varies across Canada as to what people are looking for. But, in the Abitibi, we do know that people are favorable and amenable to mining development. And for us, we'd love to have that conversation about how does it create a win for everybody.
How's the reception of the Du Parquet project right now with the community?
I think it's been well for us. I mean, the community itself, there's always questions. And I think everyone's question is when? Like, how long does this take? And, when will there be a mine? And, what are all the things that come with the mine? But, we have a lot of work to do. So, it starts with us continuing to understand what the project potential is. And, that comes through some of the drilling assessment we do. It comes through some of the environmental assessment we do. And it comes through some of just the social dialogue of, what are the opportunities here and, what are the barriers and then try and find the balance of a project in scale, scope, size, and timing, I think, is the other one that really works for success. And I mean, obviously, sooner, faster, bigger, better always sounds great, but it might not always be what the actual answer is. So it does take us some time to get through that. And I think that's probably one of the biggest things that we're always trying to work on is transparency. And we don't have all the answers, but, people, I think, around the region can be helping us in getting to those answers. And so our vision would be ultimately that we'd like to see this project advance over the next, call it 3 to 5 years towards a production milestone. But is it going to be sooner? Is it going to be longer? Time will tell. But we're committed to the process and doing it right. And I think that's probably the most important piece of the puzzle.
The mining podcast, I'm like, not remember my own name. The mining podcast is there to talk about the companies, but the human behind the companies. And I had a chance to talk with you in Val d'Or this summer. And there was an aspect of, because people know James as the Vice President Exploration and Project Operations, but do they know the real James? So I learned something about you this summer that I thought was amazing, about you being a priest. Not a priest, but you officialize a wedding for your friends and for the community, and you were talking a bit about that. And
I had the opportunity to participate in.
Am I wrong? That's not a priest.
I think it's more just traditional ceremonies from an Indigenous perspective, and it's something that I've embraced as somebody of Indigenous culture, and I am of a mixed background, but certainly have a strong alignment and affinity with my Indigenous roots, and it's really been refreshing to embrace, my family and certain ceremonies, recently, and, the teachings of our elders. And I think, the same thing can be attributed to mining as well, right? Mm-hmm. We started this conversation about family and being involved in a business and an industry that, has sort of generational approach to it. And I think those teachings and things in any aspect are important. And it's, there's learnings along the way, there's change. And it's similar to my Indigenous roots. It's, I've learned a fair bit about it. I really respect where I've come from. But at the same time, try and offer an approach that, is positive and I think building forward for the future generations.
And giving back the culture to the people and keeping it alive also. I find that's what you were doing when you were talking to me. And I find like people are starting to lose sometimes a bit of the culture. So I think you're bringing it alive by keeping this traditional aspect that you do with the weddings.
And it's been great. And it's been something that I've grown into recently and been growing in myself. And, certainly, try and find ways to obviously bridge, the teachings with, modern day, call it ceremonies and celebrations.
I love it. Thank you, James, for accepting to do this interview, this podcast. I'm sure everybody will learn more about your project, but also about you. So thank you.
Yeah, merci. Thank you for having me today, and all the best with future podcasts here on your show.
Thank you.